All right, what we'll do now is just open it up for questions for the next half an hour or so, and then we'll get lunch. Then we'll have some lunch. Sound all right? Yep. So let's go back, shall we?
Yeah. So if we start at the back, Julie. Yep. Yep. Don't adjust anything on the mic. Yeah.
How can I know what my addiction when I see my child doing something that it's not loving?
Yeah. It's difficult if you're not connected with God, because if you're not connected with God, what you're going to do is you're going to want to apply your own standards to the situation. So let's say your child is doing something unloving. Let's say your child hit another child, an example. And you know that your child hitting another child is not a loving thing for the child to do, for your child to do. But you also don't know most of the time why your child hit the other child. Does that make sense? And for very young children hitting other children, there's emotional reasons why the child is doing it that most parents don't understand at all, because they're not connected to God. Of course, God knows why the child hit the other child, emotionally knows why that happened. And the child also is just acting in their own emotions to hit the child, to hit the other person. But the parent doesn't understand often how they've created that circumstance or situation. So the question was, how do I know? Well, unless you're connected to God and God's principles, you won't know. Most probably, you just won't know. So the key is to go, okay, why aren't I connected to God enough to know why my child hit another child? Right? What was their emotion that caused them to do such a thing? What part did I play in creating their emotion to do such a thing? Now, I can give you some examples of what those emotions may be, right, for a child to hit another child. And those emotions might be simple emotions such as, I think I'm a better child. My mummy has taught me that I'm more important than any other child. So I think I'm better than all the other kids. And so therefore, when another kid annoys me, I just think I can hit him. And that's my solution. Or it could be that inside of me, there's now violence that's come up inside of me because my mother pandered to me all my life. So I might be 5 or 6 years of age and a boy, and my mother's pandered to me the entire time. So now I can think I can get away with anything and my mother will still love me and approve of me. And I can get away with any behaviour and she'll still support me and back me up, right? And that may be the reason why I hit the other child, because I just thought I can get away with it, so I'm going to do it, right? Another reason why I might hit another child is because I've never had anybody hit me, like in my entire life. I don't understand how much it hurts, right? When I hit somebody. And so that's a lack of compassion for other people's feelings, right? Why would a child at 5 or 6 years of age have a lack of compassion for other people's feelings? It's got to be related to mum and dad having a lack of compassion in some way for other people's feelings, right? Or thinking that child's feelings are more important than other people's feelings. And this is frequently what's happened with bringing up children is, often we treat our child's feelings as more important even than our own feelings. And we don't have a sense of equality that, no, just because my child's crying, it doesn't mean that I've got to do something to fix it. Like, just because my child's thinking it should get away with a certain thing, it doesn't mean that I should let him get away with that thing, right? Now, all I've done there is give you a whole series of examples, and I could give you hundreds more, but unfortunately, I can't answer your question except for the way I first answered it, which is for you to know in the moment that what's going on, you are going to have to be connected to God and your own feelings in order to know. Once you are, you will know straight away. You will know the exact reason why your child chose to do what they chose to do. And it won't be what the child gives you as the reason. It'll be God's reason, right, as to why it chose to do it. Once you know God's reason, you will also understand what part you played in the child's reasoning to do the thing the child did. And this will help greatly. But it's other than that, most parents have no idea. And so what they do is they just sort of punish the child for their behaviour when the child's been naughty, without considering how the parent itself has contributed to the child's bad behaviour. Right? And so frequently what we're doing is really punishing the child for our own bad behaviour with the child. Prior bad behaviour with the child. And that, if you think about that, that's so unjust. But it's also unjust to not deal with it. Like to go, oh yeah, I know I probably created that, so I'm not going to deal with it. Well, that's just worse. You know, that's basically saying, oh, well, I know I created that somehow, but I'm not going to fix what I did, and I'm not going to correct the child for doing what he did either. You know, and of course that's just going to embolden the child to do further naughty or unloving things to others because I haven't taken any action. So as a parent, no action is, the only time there should be no action is meeting a person's addiction. You just don't meet them. No action, right? Or you could say the action is to not meet the addiction, right? And the same applies with your child. But the rest of the time you need to take action when it comes to correcting your children, because fundamentally the majority of us have created the reasons why they do naughty things, or we've tolerated naughty things, which is really still our creation, or we believe they should be able to get away with naughty things because, you know, they are better than other children, so they should get away with things. That's also our creation. And if you look at it, almost everything that happens to our child is fundamentally at some point something we did first, right? Now, there are moments now when the child will then make choices and decisions on its own back. And of course, as it gets towards a teenager, it's doing this more and more. That now gets down to you educating your child about the laws, God's laws, and what happens when they break them. And also stop rescuing them from the penalties they experience by breaking the law. So an example of that is, let's say they start stealing and they're a teenager, they steal something, right? A lot of parents will come to their own child's rescue and actually prevent the child from experiencing the penalties of stealing something. That would be the worst thing to do. You'd be far better off including more penalties for stealing the thing than backing off in that regard. So an example of that would be, let's say she went to a shop, she was 14, she went to a shop, she stole something out of the shop. When the police get involved and when the shopkeeper gets involved and everybody's angry with her and everybody's upset you, so good on you. That's all good, because that's what she did was wrong, you know. And then you would also need to impose further potential penalties for her actions, as well as provide a course of education as to why her actions were wrong. And what I mean by a course of education, a course of moral education for the child. You're sitting down with me every night for 4 weeks, and I'm going to explain to you, and we're going to work through all the issues involved with why
you felt justified to do that, why you felt that you should get away with it, why it was wrong from God's perspective, what the impact was of that thing.
The impact on the shopkeeper, and you'd have every single day there would be a different bit of the education you'd provide, for a period of a few weeks. What do you think the child's going to do 3 weeks later when it considers stealing? It's going to go, the last thing I want is my mum or dad lecturing me for another 3 weeks. Even that alone would probably stop the next action, wouldn't it? But if the child had had a heartfelt change, which is really what you're aiming for, you can see the child after that would never want to do such a thing again. Yep. And actually the child would probably then decide even to make reparations on their own back towards the shopkeeper. Like, can I come into your shop, work for you for a few days to
pay for the...
At least pay for the thing I tried to steal. At least have, at least I do that, right? The child would want to do that if they were properly educated at the end of it. They'd want to do that. They'd want to fix what they did to the point where they've compensated for the thing they did. Yeah. Now, for the parent to know all this and to know what the right thing to do is, it's going to require you being in a strong connection with love and God and truth and humility and faith and all these principles in order for you to go, I know exactly what to do and I know exactly how to fix this problem. Does that make sense?
Yes, but when you say taking action,
yep.
So it means that I need to restrict him or something like that, or to feel my emotion about what he did?
Well, you need to do both.
Both.
Yeah, you can't do one without the other. You have a problem. As a parent, you have a problem. And the problem's not the child's problem. The problem began with your problem. So you've got to first look at your own problems. But you also can't let the child continue to get away with its problems. So you've got to do both. And you've got to be just as sincere about educating yourself about your own problem as you are about educating the child about its problem. Right? And this is where most parents fall down terribly. Mm-hmm. They're happy under certain circumstances to educate the child about their own problems, but they're not happy to work on, the parent themselves is not happy to work on their own problems with regard to why the child developed this attitude that it has that's unloving, right? And so you're going to have to do both, yeah. And there's going to be times when you feel totally guilty because you know you created the problem, but you're going to have to correct yourself and the child in order to correct the problem. Yep. And it's difficult sometimes because most parents want to correct the child. They feel embarrassed about the child's behaviour. They feel like the child did a bad thing, but the parents frequently do not want to go, what did I do with the child to cause them to believe that such behaviour is acceptable? Because obviously they wouldn't have engaged the behaviour themselves under any circumstances if they felt that the behaviour was unacceptable. So the fact is, if they do something that's unloving to another, they obviously believe that behaviour is acceptable. And what have I done to encourage that belief? I must have done something, because otherwise they probably wouldn't have the belief. Now, there are times when they become a teenager, like a more grown teenager, where it's like their peers that influence them into certain beliefs, rather than you. And this is more the responsibility then of the child to make such decisions than it is on the parent. But a lot of times, a lot of things have had to happen before they'll even get to the point where they'll accept their peers influencing them into bad behaviour. Yeah. Right? And that they have to have a predisposition towards allowing their peers to influence them in bad behaviour. Look, when I was going to school, and this was back in the 60s and 70s, there was plenty of pressures coming from all of my peers at school to do bad things. Plenty of pressures. Like, they'd laugh at you, ridicule you if you didn't. They'd do all sorts of things. But I didn't bow to the pressure, right? So if a child does bow to the pressure, there's got to be something the parent did, right? Involving with the parent somehow, where there's a feeling in the child that it needs to bow to the pressure of others. Yeah. So yes, you need to take action, but you need to make sure you're more sincere even with taking action towards yourself than you are with the child, What I see a lot of parents doing, they sort of absolve themselves of the responsibility of what happened and put it all on the child. And then they try to correct the child, and all the child's feeling is hypocritical mother, hypocritical father. You do all these things all the time. and then you're punishing me for it. So usually what that does is promote the child's rebellion rather than the child's response positively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Tim? Let's go across to...
Yeah.
So we've, especially since last year, but also a bit before, we've discussed the principles with the kids.
Yep.
As I have 2 kids.
Yep. What ages?
Now 13 and 10. Almost.
13 and 10, yep.
So aspiring.
To do the right thing with the children.
To do the right thing.
Yep.
And I feel that consequences is something they understand.
Yes.
It's something that's been sort of established in our house.
Yes.
And we've recognized, my husband and I, that love and truth, like what's loving and unloving, they get it very easily.
Often easier
more
than the
us.
parent.
Yeah. Truth the same. We've discussed like where you feel in your body when you're untruthful. And that's what seems complex mostly for me is humility, free will, and parenting. Like this. So obviously sometimes I need to tell them what to do.
No.
Or no.
Well,
you need a law.
You need a law.
But that's different to telling them what to do.
So you need a law, and then you need a consequence for breaking it, and a consequence for upholding it.
Do you see the difference?
You see the difference?
There?
That's different than telling. So let's say, give an example. Child 13, a year-old child, is a boy, girl, boy, not cleaning his room. Never does. Leaves his socks everywhere, his undies everywhere. Just comes home, strips off after school, just leaves it on the floor.
As an example.
As an example. Yeah. I'm just giving an example. Is that what happens?
No. He's very
So, giving an example, that's what he does. Right? He's very tight end, the girl isn't, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll use this example. So he's not tidy. He's not looking after his environment. Okay. So as a parent, do I tell him every day to clean up his room?
Clean up your room.
And then the next day, what do I have to do again?
Clean up your room.
Tell him to clean up his room. And the next day, what do I have to do again?
You haven't cleaned up your room. Clean up your room. Yep.
And what's happening inside of me that every day I've got to say this?
I'm irritated.
My irritation is growing. So obviously they're not listening. There's no law. You say clean up your room, but it's not a law. To be a law, it has to have a reward and a consequence. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So what would the consequence be if he doesn't clean up his room?
Yeah, I've done this with my daughter who leaves her pens on sofas and that. And I told her it's going to become public property, basically.
Yeah.
Like if I need to collect it, then it goes into a basket and everyone can use it and it's
not hers anymore.
It's not hers anymore.
Yeah.
That's right, not hers anymore. You could also consider just giving it away to another child.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of ways that you can impose a penalty that are all loving. If a person can't care for its own property, then the person doesn't really deserve to have property, right?
But that's an example of a law that you set, and you obviously talked to her about. You didn't walk around the house telling her to pick up her pens. You said, "No, if you keep leaving pens or whatever you leave, it's going to be."
I wouldn't even tell her.
Yeah,
I would just pick up all of the pens and put it in public property and say that was the penalty. Yeah. I wouldn't even tell her what it was going to be.
But the difference is you're not telling her what to do. You're just having a law and that there's a consequence.
She'll learn from that. The next time she's got something of her own, she better look after it because it's going to be public property. Yeah. And mum and dad are going to impose it whether she even thinks about it or not.
Mm-hmm. So the house should have, so for example, chores. We have some like weekly and chores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But then there are things that are just
Can I just deal
ongoing.
with the chores thing?
Yeah, sorry?
Reward, penalty. There's a law. There's a whole heap of jobs that need to be done in the house. There's a reward for doing them and there's a penalty for not doing them. That's all you need. They'll want to do them when there's a reward and a penalty. So a reward could be a person who works is worthy of wages, worthy of a reward. Are they not? Of some kind. Like And sometimes the reward can be just simple, like it's tidy now, and before it wasn't. That's a reward, isn't it? But sometimes the reward can be monetary. It can be like, I've got some funds now because I did that thing. The reward could be, that somebody gives you a gift because you did the thing. There's all sorts of ways to reward a person. So let's say you just make a whole list of chores and you put them up on your kitchen, maybe on your fridge or something like that. Here's the chores and here's their value, whatever the reward is. And then there's a penalty associated when it doesn't happen. And then you let them do whatever they want.
Okay. So a law for everything, basically. So very clear.
When I say let them do whatever they want, let's say they choose to do, like, clean the bath. Whatever that reward is, you make sure you give it to them every single time.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yep.
And if that reward is like you get $1 for cleaning the bath, or €1 for cleaning the bath,
That's a lot.
Or you get mum makes you a meal tonight if you clean the bath. Or you get dad will give you this, or we'll take you there if you clean the bath. That kind of thing. There's a reward. It doesn't really matter what the reward is as long as it's commensurate in measure with the deed.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if the deed is little, something they should have done anyway, then there should be very little reward.
Okay.
If the deed is great, something they would not normally consider doing, but they did it, like you come home from work, they've cooked a meal for you. That's great, isn't it? Having your children go and cook a meal for you, it's a meal you didn't have to cook. And in fact, my feelings are they should be cooking 3 or 4 of them every week anyway. Like if you've got 3 children, there's 2 parents, then you divide that by 7 days a week. How long should each person be cooking? Mum should be cooking once a week or once every 5 days. Child number 1 should be cooking once every 5 days. Child number 2 should be cooking once every 5 days. And dad should be cooking once every 5 days if it's equal, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So if they did beyond that, then a reward should be there. And if they don't do that, there should be a penalty. So they didn't get any food is a penalty. Like, there's no food for you today. What am I going to do? Well, it's too bad. You're not eating any of my food. I bought all the food. I bought all the food for you, but I require that you respect my environment. And if you don't respect my environment, you're not getting any of my food. Why should they get food if they're not respecting of your environment? You follow?
Yeah.
Now
this
this requires.
One for me, but
yeah, most parents don't agree with anything I'm saying.
I agree with a lot of it.
Yeah, I know. But most parents don't agree with anything I'm saying, and this is why they end up with problems by the time the kids are teenagers. Because if you've done this from the time they were like able to walk, it wouldn't take until a teenager for them to cook a meal. They'd be cooking meals by the time they're 5. You could send them shopping by themselves when they're 5, and they'd bring home all the family food exactly as you wanted it by the time they're 5. They're capable of that. They're intelligent children, beings. They've been created with the greatest of God's creation. They're totally capable by the time they're 5 of speaking multiple languages, dealing with multiple issues, and also looking after themselves and cleaning after themselves and washing their own cups and, cleaning their own room and cleaning their own clothes and looking after their own clothes and even buying them. If you had a reward system in place, they'd have money to buy them as well. So they could be totally responsible for the decisions they make. They buy a bad clothing and it doesn't last very long. Well, that's the penalty of choosing a bad one. Now you haven't got any for a while. But you choose a good one and you save up and get a good one. Now it's going to last you a long time. This is good. You've got to think about that. That's a part of their education. You want to get to them by the time they're 7 or 8 years of age where they understand completely how to look after themselves in every single way and potentially are even earning their own funds outside of the family by that stage, where they go and get some work done and do some work in the house and do some work outside. By that stage in this life, I was like, I had the family garden, I looked after the family garden, and I would sell my mum and dad vegetables. That was part of my business. But I'd sell other people vegetables too. But Another business I had was making art for people, and I would make art and sell it to people. It had to be good enough for people to like it. But by the time I was that age, I could sell art that other people thought was good enough for them to keep on their wall, you know. And they wanted to buy it, not out of some pandering thing for me. It was never that. It was never like, oh yeah, that's great, when it was terrible. Nothing like that. It was like, it had to be great, and they had to think it was great, and then they bought it, right? I used to do other things like making, like I bought the family's cameras. Like we had, my mother and father was very poor, and I managed to earn enough funds by eating and picking fruit. And in the case where I lived, it was a great big fruit growing industry, like Portugal is, in a lot of places in Portugal, right? And I used to go picking every day and earn some funds, and eventually I saved up enough funds to buy a camera. The family didn't have a camera. I bought a projector for the cameras, all that. And the family didn't have enough money, but I bought all that, and I shared it with the family, and it was treated as mine. And ironically, it's really interesting. My father still has in his possession the things I bought. He still uses. There's a projector that Mary and I went down there a few years ago to visit my parents, and on the projector I bought, the slide projector I bought, they were showing the slides of the photos I took with the camera I bought when I was 7.
Oh, wow.
Right? And we were poor. When I say we were poor, we lived in a tin hut with dirt floors. We were poor. And when I say a tin hut, it was just a tin hut, like dirt floors, one room. And it was hot. It was 40, often like here, 45 degrees Celsius, like hot. And cold in the winter too. We were in the middle of the desert, so it was cold in the winter as well. And that's where we lived, first 5 years of my life, right? So first 4 years, 5 years, somewhere in that. And then we moved into a housing commission home, like a government-controlled housing. But by the time I was 7, I had enough principles of my own to understand I need to learn how to work. I was proud of myself working. I liked it. I liked the autonomy it gave me, the freedom it gave me, the ability to buy what I wanted to buy. Sometimes I bought lollies with it. Yeah, and what happened? Sweets. And what happened when I was 5? Almost all my teeth were rotten because of it. And then I realised the penalty. You don't eat sweets every day of your life, right? Because it's going to end up with bad teeth. So my next set of teeth that came along lasted me.
You've got them
I still got them, fortunately. But you learn these principles, and the earlier you can teach them, the better the child, and the more able the child's going to become. So it's very important to sort of inculcate these principles. You really want the child to be fully self-sufficient by the age of 7, like where they're earning their own money, enough to even eat, to purchase food and everything. You really want it to be that self-sufficient. If they're that self-sufficient, they will learn how to love people, but also they will love themselves. They will care for themselves. They will know how to do it. They won't be reliant on you. Anything that you do with them is going to be really good, really positive. Can we just have the child away from our gear there, just in case they accidentally hit a button that I don't want them to hit? Thank you. All right, so we can. This is something that we will do as parents quite easily.
Can we just, I'd like to pick up on a point, because you sort of talked about paying the child for washing the bathtub. And I feel there's a distinction between a child being rewarded for having a sense of personal satisfaction for doing something that is reasonable to care for oneself, as opposed to something that is beyond what's required to care for oneself. So that's an important, that you don't monetize or reward things that are really what will be required of me for the rest of my life to have to care for myself.
Yeah, see, I don't agree with Mary on that subject. I reckon you want to. I reckon you want to reward everything you possibly can that's positive, and penalise everything you possibly can that's negative. Whatever way you can, whatever way is at your disposal, right? Now, in the case of myself with the bathroom, I proposed to my mum and dad. Like, I noticed my mum was cleaning up all the time after the whole family, and she's actually still doing that to this day. She's 80.
It's not quite 80, I don't think.
78, 79. And, you know, she's so sick now, but she's still doing it. Like, she's got cancer and she's got all sorts of other problems, and she's still doing it. I noticed that happening, and my heart was such that I felt like, by this stage, I just felt like I want to help her out. But I also wanted to, there needed to be some, like, feeling inside of me of motivation to do the thing, not just the love in it, but also once you create a reward, you really understand that love and rewards go together. You know what I mean? Like, and unloving behaviour and pain goes together. It's very, very important to understand this underlying principle, which God is trying to teach us all the time. So for me, it was like I negotiated with my mum and dad, can I do some jobs? And some of those jobs can be paid. Like I wasn't paid for cleaning my room ever, right? Ever.
Yeah, this is what
I wasn't.
this is the
I wasn't
distinction.
paid for looking after any of my things ever.
Yeah.
But when I did stuff in excess of
Yeah.
the things I was personally responsible for, like everybody used the bath, but I cleaned it.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a different thing.
That's
Th-
different.
2 times a week I washed the linen, the clothes. Right, it was everybody's clothes. It wasn't just mine. It was everybody's. 2 times a week I prepared a meal. Right, I was 7 doing these things. 2 times a week prepared a meal. It was everybody's meal. It wasn't just my own. Right, it would be different if it was just doing my own. That shouldn't be rewarded. You need to be doing your own as a minimum. Right. It's what I say is in excess of what would be the minimum responsibility,
Yeah.
you can then reward the child one way or another, whether it's through a monetary reward or going somewhere they really love reward, or saving up towards a purchase of a thing they really love, or but it's better they do that.
Yeah.
Like, rather than you do that for them. In other words, rather than you put some money in a kitty saving for something, it's better to give them the money and then see what they do with it, because they need to learn how to handle it. Yeah. It's a part of functioning in life, right? They need to learn how to handle their own money at some point. Most children, by the time they leave home, they don't know how to clean their own clothes, they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to buy their own clothes, they don't know where to go shopping, they don't know what to do, they don't know how much things cost, they don't know how much things are worth, they don't know how to earn money at all, they've got no idea, and they're also willing to spend way more than they're ever able to earn, right? Which is all going to be very harmful for the rest of their life. They're going to be broke by the time they're 20, probably in debt if they have that attitude. Instead of, you know what I mean? There's going to be lots of trouble. The key as a parent is to educate the child to become a self-sufficient being. Now, the problem for most parents emotionally is they don't want to do that.
They don't want.
Because then it makes the parent feel I'm no longer a parent. I no longer have the role. I'm desperate for the role of being a mother. I'm desperate to be needed. I'm desperate to be wanted. I'm desperate to have a role with my child. No, that is all part of the parent's problem, the parent's addiction. From God's perspective, God's not desperate to be your parent, right? God is your parent, and God educates you this way, the exact way I'm describing. Exactly the same. He gives you positive rewards for when you're loving. He gives you negative consequences when you're unloving. Most of those rewards and consequences are all based upon emotion as well, so you feel it rather than just seeing it. So you understand, over time, if you understand the laws, you understand the principles, and God's educating us this way all the time, and we need to learn to educate our children the same way. Once we do, our children will be, by the time they're, like I said, 7 or 8, earning their own funds, buying their own food, cooking their own meals. But when they do other things, and they'll feel like doing other things because they'll have the energy to do it, they'll feel like doing other things, like I want to cook a meal for the family once a week, and I want to buy the food cook for the family. And these kind of things should also be rewarded, because it needs to be said to the child, it's great you did that. We love that you've done that. But we also want to like gift to you for doing that. You know, God's. Many of you don't realize it on earth yet, but when you hit the spirit world, you'll realize how many gifts you receive in the spirit world will be dependent a lot upon how many gifts you gave while you were here. You understand? Like, so God will make many allowances for your bad behavior if you've been loving here, right? When I say allowances, I'm not saying he says they're all absolved. You'll be surprised at how rewarding it was to do the good things. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I want to surprise my children and show them how rewarding it is to do the good things.
Yeah.
That's part of their education.
Yeah, I feel that some of my resistance for specifically monetary gifting has to do with my work in the house and how that's not rewarded and like working through those emotions.
Yes, a lot of parents and particularly mums obviously feel that, you know, they feel like, when am I going to get paid? When's my reward?
Where's my...
And I certainly do believe that they should be.
Yeah.
So there should be some consideration of the mum's effort, and there's some reward for her effort. And that reward shouldn't be just emotional. There should be other rewards. Your rewards come in many flavours, right? There should be emotional reward, physical reward, sexual reward, you know, spiritual rewards. You know, there should be all sorts of rewards for a person deciding to love. Now, I'm not saying that a child would meet mum's sexual rewards, but I'm just saying there should be some rewards. So when mum wants to have sex, like, kids get lost. Reward.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That should be a part of mum's reward. That she's allowed to enjoy herself with her partner anytime she wishes without being annoyed by the kids about it. You know, if the kids truly were educated, they'd understand. That's one of the things mum loves doing.
Yeah.
She should be rewarded for that. You know, rewarded for the things she's done. Yeah. So there's many ways that rewards can come to a person, and the key is to make sure that happens in the family, so that everybody there understands. There's beautiful things that come when you're loving in the course of your actions. Yeah. So I agree, many mums aren't rewarded, unfortunately, not very well rewarded. Many mums are imposed, they're basically taught from a very young age, you do it because you're just being a good mum, and there's no other reward for it other than just the fact that you're being told you're a good mum. Right, and many women are totally willing to do it just for that reason, unfortunately. But that's not a good enough reason. There should be better. There should be more rewards than that.
Yeah. And it goes back to the earlier part of our conversation, doesn't it? To look at your own addictions that have led you to a point where you're servicing a household, more or less.
Serving a household. Really slavery for the household.
Yeah. Without anyone valuing that, and how what led to that situation.
Yeah, and then the reward in my case is control.
And also
is the reward.
Not just that, the reward is everybody telling you you're a great mum, and or everybody, you know, there's a lot of other emotional rewards that a lot of women are prepared to accept, while at the same time being totally exhausted.
Or just avoiding the guilt of feeling responsible when things don't go well. So
this is where you've got to be really honest about your own addictions with regard to what you do.
Because once you deal with them, you will feel a lot more open to implementing a lot of the things Jesus just said, and you'll feel you do have more energy, and you'll feel more boundaries emotionally with. And
you'll have more pleasure in your life, right? You're not slaving after the whole house anymore. You're having as much fun as everyone else in their house is having. And many women feel they don't have as much fun as everybody else. Right? And that is true, unfortunately. Many women all around the world, in all different cultures, feel strongly that they don't have as much fun as the rest of the family have. And that's not fair. No. That it should be, we're all equal. We should be equal fun. Yep. So the kids shouldn't be playing all day, because that's not equal fun. There should be some part of the day they're working. because that's what the parents do. They work too. Sooner or later, you've got to work to provide for yourself in some way or another. You've got to work to get food. You know, even if it means growing it, you still got to work to do it, right? Even if it means you're not buying it, but you're growing it, there's still got to be work done to do it. And everybody needs to appreciate that in the family, and particularly the children, because they're going to need to grow up and eventually probably have children of their own and learn through their own experience that, things cost either effort or resources or money, or because money is just a resource of one of many, energy, time, thought. It costs things to create a life. And they need to learn that.
Yeah. It's a great thing for kids to learn to grow food.
There's many people we're meeting in God's Way now in Australia who come across from developed countries to help us out in the environment, and most of them are in their 30s or 40s, and they've never once grown anything their entire life. Like, their entire life. Never once. They don't even know, many of them don't even know that you can plant a seed and it grows. They know theoretically, but they've never done it. They don't know how much you've got to look after it every day, care for it. They don't understand. And they're in their 30s and 40s, they have no idea. They've never done it. And this is becoming more and more commonplace because of the people living in bigger cities and never having these experiences which they need to have to understand what others are doing for them every day. The farmers of the earth, they are not appreciated for what they do every single day. They're not appreciated. Because once you've done it yourself and you've been involved in it yourself and you realise how much work it requires and how much effort it requires and how much knowledge it requires, you would have a lot more respect for what they do just by knowing that. And this is what our children need in order to become more, for a society to become more loving in the future. Our children need this. Yeah.
Did we answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so a lot of times when we talk to parents, they sort of feel like, being far too strict, far too, well, that's pretty harsh, that kind of feeling. And that's the feeling that your children are getting away with. They're using that feeling in you to get away with bad behaviour for themselves, right? The guilt feelings and the other feelings associated with when we do these things in a loving manner. You remember the goal here is not to punish your children, but to educate them so that by the time they are very young, but intellectually developed, they are also now emotionally developed and physically able to do the very things needed for their own existence.
Some lovely stories with Eloise's family, because, a lot of this got implemented. I remember when the kids, I think Archie might have been 10, was he, when they started doing their own shopping? Do you remember?
I think it was about
Ella
8.
would be able to. He's quite young, he's in primary school.
About 8, I think it was.
Eloisa gave them a card and a budget each, and they each had to get their shopping for the week and make their own meals. And she'd get projections. She'd take them to the supermarket and they'd have to do the whole thing, and she'd just wait at the checkout. And
they'd have their own shopping trolley.
The whole thing. And, Arch was quite small, and, the supermarket staff thought there was some kind of abuse happening, this is a terrible thing. These children are shopping for themselves. and then the kids figured out, actually, we can get more out of our money if we pool, like if we make a joint shopping list. So this is good. They're learning.
They sorted that out themselves.
They figured out, if we each buy rice, we've got a lot of rice and, less money. And so they figured all this out.
So then they made a shopping list, and then they each bought different parts of the shopping list.
Yes, yes. And then they, got to, you, Charlie, you like all this expensive food. You can't be on this part of the shopping list. You got to buy that on your own, And but they make excellent meals. And it would be quite common. We
often go over there for dinner, and the kids have made a meal.
Yeah, but they'd each be cooking their own meal and doing their own thing. Yeah. But then sometimes they invite us for dinner, and it's like superb food. Yeah. They're very good cooks now.
It took them about 2 years to even want to invite us.
Yeah.
Because they were
or
pretty angry
longer.
with us for
Yeah.
suggesting
Yeah, longer. We're talking 10 years, or not, 8 years, 5 years
now,
down the track.
now
Yeah.
they love our company.
Yes,
but
they quite
not
like
back then.
They like having us over. Or Charlie just makes a whole heap of pies and brings them over. Here you go, guys. I just made pies for everyone. So they quite
So
enjoy
he delivers them down the street, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the gift-giving part of it came naturally as they became more proficient. They
And
initially
also more aware.
Yes, of what was involved in cooking
Yeah.
and what a gift it was to give, and
Yeah.
how pleasurable you could make it, and
Yeah.
all these things that, and what the value of food is, and the time. And they now grow some of their own.
So
veggies
I haven't
and
made pasties. Like I like pasties, which are vegetable filled pastry. I like them occasionally. I haven't made them for 2 years because Charlie made them.
He just brings them over and puts them in the freezer, you know. So, yeah. But it's a growth where they went from, you know, oh, we've got to do this thing, we don't know how to cook, or they made a mess everywhere when they had their outdoor kitchen and Mum had her kitchen.
Yeah.
And now all 4 of them, so the 3 kids and Mum, share the kitchen. They often make their own meal, but now even it's not even rewarded monetarily or through other things. The reward is, oh, I'd like to cook for the whole family, and everyone appreciates it because everyone has now an appreciation of what that means. So there's a lot of growth that we've seen happen through because they were all engaged in that experiment, and there's more of a giving sense in it now as well. Yeah.
And Eloise's oldest daughter has now left home and gone to uni. And she said, one of the comments she made, they invited us over for a meal before we left home, and she said, nobody at uni knows how to look after themselves. Yeah. She was saying that all of them try to get things from their mum and dad all the time, and they go buying food and then they run out of money, and none of them know what to do to look after themselves. And she knows it. Like, so now she's quite confident in herself. This is what I do to look after myself. I know what to do. I know where I got to go. I know what I got to eat. I know
how to care for my
how
clothes.
to care for my clothes. I know how to do all of that
manage
stuff.
my time. Those
but
things.
It's now quite noticeable to her how little education the rest of the kids at uni have with regard to doing all of these things.
So even though in the beginning everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's so harsh, it's child abuse. I feel it's child abuse teaching a child that they don't have capacities that they have. You know, that's a terrible crime.
It's the worst kind of child abuse, really.
You know, that children are perfectly capable and can find now pleasure and joy in giving this gift of a meal. Come around, I want to give to you. You know, that's a sense of pride they have as well when we go, oh, this tastes great, guys. And they're like, oh, yeah, I've been working on that dressing, you know. And
some of the they've written their own recipes and everything, you know.
Yeah, and they would, you know, if they'd been raised in the way that they were being raised, they wouldn't even know they could do those things or give those gifts. So,
Yeah, Eloise was also saying to me when I was out there that they went shopping and she gave them a budget every week. And then they got to the till one day and it was more than they had in their budget. And so they were looking at Mum like, help us out. And Eloise was like, no. And so they had to go through the emotions and the shame of putting things back. And the shopkeeper giving her some projection of shame. But the next week they actually realised, and okay, we can't afford this. And at first she was saying they would buy sweets and things that were unhealthy, but then they'd get home and they'd all be run out by 3 days. And then so the next week they would be like, okay, we need more lettuces and we need more fresh food. But it all came from them.
And they also learn. I feel terrible when I eat this junk all the time. We need. So now they eat very well.
Lots
a lot of vegetables.
illnesses and everything.
And when I went round for dinner with them, the one thing that I really noticed is that after the dinner, it wasn't spoken about. Like it wasn't like the parents. You know, Eloise was saying, "Can you wash up?" As soon as we finished, Charlie just got up.
The kids are up there, washing up straight away.
And they're just washing up straight away together, chatting away in the kitchen. Everything was put away. It was just
no arguments, no fights.
Very
who's
seamless.
Going to do this? Who's going to do that?
I was like, wow, this is good.
But like I said, it's taken Eloise a solid 10 years.
Yeah, and they had to come to feel that was a part of caring for myself, was doing those things, and some of those lessons were hard. And
but what a wonderful gift to give to your children, right?
Yeah.
You know, now the boys and so there's Charlie. He's the older boy. Younger boy is Archie, and the oldest is the girl, Isabella, and all of them now feel confident about going out into the world. They've all made a decision before they even left school. They know exactly what they want to do with the rest of their life. They know what education they're looking for the rest of their life. They want to go to, in one case, two cases, I think they want to go to university. One of them knows, no, I want to be a builder. I'm going to get a trade. I know what I want. They know in advance all of these things are what they want. And it's all because of the education that really mum has provided with resistance from dad.
Yeah.
Because there was resistance from him to do it. In fact, at one point he was actually ringing her and saying, "You're a bad mother doing this with our kids."
Yeah.
At one point that's what he was doing, trying to undermine it all. But now, of course, he looks at it and goes, "Well, it's just like our kids are pretty good, right?" And I'm not saying they're not free of emotional problems,
Because
because
when
they
you
still
say
have
they're
some.
confident to go out into the world, they're very confident physically, but Eloisa still has some emotions where they feel dependent on her emotionally.
Yeah.
For when hard things happen.
When hard emotions come up, they
up.
still feel,
I need mum.
I
I'm
need
panicked.
mum to help me.
Yeah. So that's the things where they've still got work to do.
Yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. G'day. Well,
Lunch?
probably lunchtime, eh?
Yeah.
Yep. So let's stop now and have some lunch. Thanks, guys.